Frank Sinatra did not come back from the dead to write the theme of Final Fantasy Strangers of Paradise. Oh yeah, I finished Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, so we needed a new game to play. What we settled on was Final Fantasy Origins Strangers in Paradise, which is very goofy. Yoinked that one down on easy so we can just like speed through it, enjoying the fun parts. Like, an amount of people who reviewed that game were like, the story is bad, but the fighting is good, and I disagree. I think that the story is amazing. If you look at it from a certain point of view, then it is good. But the fighting I do not enjoy. Like, for one thing, how is the, like, fight button, I've been playing Yakuza games for way too long for your, like, main attack button to be the R1 shoulder button. Like, what are you doing to me, man? Why are we doing this? The problem is like, I do not at all remember the plot of the first Final Fantasy game. There's a man who his name is Jack. He wants to fight Chaos, and people keep telling him that Chaos isn't real, and this makes Jack really mad. He's not trying to hear that. So, the king tells Jack that Chaos is a fairy tale. And Jack, you gotta understand, he's like a, I don't know, like Gears of War style, like, I don't even know. Like, game genres I don't normally play, but like Call of Duty, he's like a bad but tough guy. And so he responds to everything with literally the most anime grunting I've ever heard in my entire life. He'll just be like, always. It's amazing and good. King Man's like, there ain't no chaos, it's the lie. And Jack walks away he goes, bullshit! And then he puts his earbuds in, and he starts playing on his phone. He has a smartphone, like a Linkin Park ripoff song, and he just walks away. And this game came out like 2 years ago, okay? It's not a PlayStation 3 game. It seems like it should be, but it's not. And so we're just trying to figure out if, like, the things that we saw in the Ducky video are unedited, and, like, that was not edited. I just was like, is this a remake of, like, a PSP game or something? Because this game has a real, like, Crisis Core feel to it. And, like, no! No! It's just a PlayStation 4 game! I don't understand it. You, like, select all of your missions from, like, an overworld map, and, like in Crisis Core, and then, like, when you end a mission, like, it cuts, hard cut to black. Like, they don't even fade out the music. It's so strange. You can use a lance and just, like, one-shot people from pretty far away, and I think that's a lot of fun. I have a theory about what happened here. Because, like, something has happened here. The game is extremely unfinished. And, like, what I think happened is that they took most of the people who were working on this game and moved them over to the Final Fantasy VII remakes at some point. Because, like, the game's not done. The plot doesn't hang together right. And I don't mean like they made weird decisions. I mean like there's scenes that are clearly missing. Like, how do these people know each other? Do we, the audience, get to know that they all have amnesia before how they start talking about how it's good if they don't cure their amnesia? It was not established that these people had amnesia first, which it kind of should have been. There's zero allowances made for people who might not remember the intricacies of the plot of Final Fantasy 1. There's very little explanation or, like, moving people not even explanation, but just like moving people from like not knowing each other to knowing, like from different statuses in the story of like the group of heroes. They don't know each other. They decide to band together to do a thing. And then as they do that, they learn and grow and they get to know each other. Like, we're missing 90% of that. What do we get instead? We get a lot of talking about cubes. A lot of cubes. The save points, like, in a way, the Final Fantasy prequel is like a really video gamey-ass video game. It's like the save points are very save pointy, like in the way that they were in like the original Final Fantasy VII, where it's a thinger, and you walk up to it, and you can't like save unless you're at the thinger. You can't job tree your guys unless you're at the thingy. You don't get any of the like, how do these people know each other? When did they meet? How do they know about the crystals? Do I think that they're doing an in media res thing? Like, if they are, they've incited the media and rest so hard that like I am in confusion. And we are significant. Like, we have restored the wind, earth, and like air crystals, and we're working on the water crystal. Like, we should have a little bit more of a clue of how these people are interacting and how they know each other and where this is going than we do. This is the most anime grunting I've ever heard. It's so funny. But like, they're doing it instead of like talking at all or like interacting where there should be something happening. Instead, there's three people looking at each other going, huh, like just over and over and over. And like, the game isn't like broken, right? So it is playable. So like, unlike most like kind of terrible games where you're just like, this is functionally unplayable, a lot of times like, no, this game's playable. And the combat, I don't really like. I don't appreciate the main fighty fight button being the right shoulder button, the like R1 button. Like, what? No. I'm way too used to Yakuza for that. Like, at least in Final Fantasy, the attack button was one of the regular face buttons. If I'm tippy-tapping hard enough on the face buttons, I'll get it eventually. Do you know how irritating it is to have to continually jam over and over and over the right shoulder button? Square, why did you do that? Also, if I was hanging around with angry, grunting Jackman, I would have some questions. One of which would be, how come do you got the power to turn people's blood into crystals? That seems like maybe it's an evil power. You know? I don't know if you should be able to do that. It's creepy. You get people down far enough, and then you can press the circle button and, like, do a heat move on them where you turn all of their blood into shards of crystal. But, like, the elementals in this game are kind of represented as, like, shaped figures sitting on top of a round yoga ball. Sure, the game, I guess. But, like, you get close, you punch or lance or whatever you're doing. So you do your thing, you get the elemental down, and then the, like, yoga ball lady, he picks up her yoga ball, turns it into crystals, and smashes it into her face, and I'm just like, I feel like that's a lot. I just feel like that's a lot. But, like, some of the scenes that they did, the stuff that they did finish and animate is done really well. Like, the animation is nice. They made a lot of job classes and a tree. The job classes, honestly, I think they feel a little flimsy, in my opinion. That may be a taste issue. I just don't think that, like, if you've made one job class where you can one-shot people pretty much immediately at range, you've kind of made the rest of the job classes, like, not that necessary. There's almost, like, this excessive, amount of gear. Like, every fight that you get, yes! You can, like, get gear every time. You end up with, like, you're only allowed to have, like, 5,000 gear. But we had 5,000 gear by, like, the second chapter. And then, like, they're like, you can dismantle gear in order to improve your gear. But, like, what is the point of that if you're just gonna get different, better gear 3 fights from now? Because, like, there's no crafting, improving your weapons in, like, Breath of the Wild, right? The weapons have a durability. I mean, for the most part, there's a few exceptions, but, like, they have durability, they break, and that's it. You go find another weapon. So, like, weapons have limited use. And the gear in the Final Fantasy prequel, Strangers of Paradise, it has, like, a similar utility problem because you're constantly getting so much more of it. You know that there's no reason to use the crafting system. So you're just getting all this gear all the time for, like, no reason. But the gear is all, like, it's all animated. And so it's all skinned onto all of the models. And so you're constantly, like, every fight, like, changing, just about every fight, changing the gear to make it better. And so you end up, like, basically playing fashion dress-up with this angry grunting man. Because you're changing his clothes so often. I don't even know if I would call it an action RPG because there's no towns, there's no shops. That you can talk to townspeople, but you have to do it from an overworld menu. There's no map except for the overworld menu. Square has made their, like, traditional windy as fuck, samey looking ass wayfinding piece of shit kind of traversal that they like to do, where everything looks the same, but they insist on looping everything back to you. But this time they haven't even included a mini-map. Sounds like a stealth dress-up game for people who like to pretend they don't like dress-up games. I mean, I think it might be that. I think it might be that. I mean, I've certainly been I mean, and people end up looking ridiculous, and it is so funny. The game is so funny. It is so funny all of the time. The cutscenes that they did have a chance to animate, because, like, there's clearly, like, chunks that are missing, but, like, a lot of times they're so funny. I mean, this game is a stealth dress-up game. Let's not pretend. I love that about it. So, like, when I say that Strangers of Paradise is a stealth dress-up game, high compliment from me. There's, like, an entire, different dimensions plot that they, like, did not really explain at all. At all. They did not finish this game, and there is, like, lore that is happening in it that's clearly just, like, someone had a pitch, and this is what was left. And the ending did not disappoint. They keep it all hidden, like, I guess supposedly it's supposed to be some kind of hidden secret that the angry grunting man, the most angry grunting man is Garland from Final Fantasy 1. I guess it's supposed to be a secret. Princess Sarah's like, "What's your name?" And he's like, "It's Jack Garland." And I'm like, oh my, first of all, oh my god, his name is Jack Garland, of course it is. So he's Garland, they're the bad guys. Like, yeah, of course they have to be. But get to the end, he's like, and he sits on his like evil garland throne to wait for the Warriors of Light from Final Fantasy 1 to show up. And then they hard cut to Frank Sinatra singing My Way. Like the original Frank Sinatra version of My Way. Like, okay, number one, that is the most wang-a-dang doodle thing I've seen at the end of a video game in a while. They played a whole song, which is like, of course, you paid for Frank Sinatra, you have to play the whole song. But also, like, how come did you pay for Frank Sinatra to sing your outro music, which is Just My Way by Frank Sinatra? Like, would you pay for that for to be in your video game when you clearly didn't have enough money to pay for the rest of the video game to be made? So that's a weird choice. I feel like for a significant amount of the game not being finished, they clearly went hard on the music before they found out they weren't getting the rest of that money. The music's really good all the way through, but then in the credits, they say that the theme of Final Fantasy Strangers of Paradise by Frank Sinatra, and it's like, no, it's not. No, it wasn't. You paid for a song. Frank Sinatra did not come back from the dead to write this song for your weird, unfinished, but in so many ways delightful PlayStation portable ass like version of whatever is happening here. That man died. You just paid for this song. Why did you even put it that way? What an odd thing to do. I think it was great. I mostly didn't play it. I watched Josh play and I laughed. A lot of it was really hard to navigate. And so, like, I'm not really into stuff that's, like, really hard to navigate. I really enjoyed watching someone else play it. If there's a streamer playing it, I would say watch a streamer, watch a long play, trick someone else into playing it so you can watch. Because there is some honkers badonkers stuff going on in that game that is definitely worth a watch. But it is not a finished game. Some of the stuff that they left out and clearly didn't have time to finish just makes it so much funnier. I would say my review of Strangers in Paradise Final Fantasy Origins is, if you go into it expecting it kind of to be a video game equivalent of The Room, and you play it on easy, and you only paid $15 for it, which I did, then I think it's great. It's worth your time and money. Now, if I had paid $60 for this, I would have been honked off.